Hello everybody, welcome back. Real quick video then, just to I suppose try and explain what it is that I'm seeing when I look at Bitcoin. Alright, so like it's not so much about Bitcoin or being bullish or bearish. When you're trading, especially the way that I do it on the long term, when you're looking at long term charts, there's a few things you look at. So this is stripped down, bare bones Bitcoin chart, right? I've just got a simple Bollinger Band, and when it comes to Bollinger Bands, it's a matter of odds, alright? So just like odds at the bookies, yeah. So you got to play the odds. When we're in this zone, the odds are against it, sort of breaking out. This is a super resistance at this point, this level here, 36,000. Super resistance because it's the centre of the Bollinger Band. Because reclaiming that would mean that the bulls would then have the upper hand. At the moment, the bulls are having a nice time, I suppose, down here because the odds down here are in the odds of a bounce, alright? But the odds up here are the odds of a rejection. Now this is just the daily chart, and the daily chart gives you the bigger moves, alright? So we have a look at how this looks on a 4-hourly chart. So the 4-hourly chart, again, we're being, I suppose, rejected from the centre of this Bollinger Band here. It's acting as a resistance. Still, you can see at this point now on the 4-hourly, but the odds are against us. Alright, so the odds are in the favour of the bulls driving this down, provided that this moving average, which is basically what it is, it's the 20 moving average, continues to face down. Alright, so the odds are in the favour of the bears at the moment on the 4-hourly. They're also in the odds, generally speaking, on the daily. Let's have a look at other time frames. 1-hourly. Okay, so now we're getting a bit more of a picture. So the odds are, again, they vary on this one, as you can see. The odds were in the favour of the bears. They broke up a little bit of a fake out, but again back down in favour of the bears. A little bit of a bouncy bounce. There was every chance it could have continued. This moving average here, I suppose, is a longer term time frame, and being below there is again bearish. So I'm trying to break this down as simple as possible for everybody. And now we're back below in favour of the bears, but this it doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. Obviously, as you can see on the 1-hourly, we move from below to above, back down below. So when we're looking at 4-hourlies, for instance, if we were to break up above this moving average, then there's every chance that we will then stay above it at least for a period of time, a couple of days perhaps. This moving average here is relatively important. As you can see, we're snaking around it, trying to reclaim it. So what I'm saying is you've got to play the odds, alright? Look at Bitcoin as nothing more than, I suppose, like a UFC fight, right? So everyone likes Conor McGregor at the moment, but he's going to have another fight. He's a good fighter. Everybody likes him. He's a likable, I suppose, in many ways, a likable guy, alright? He's entertaining. Does that mean that the odds are in his favour? Actually, I saw the odds are massively against him. He's seen as one of the best fighters in the world, but it was like a 20-1 that he was going to win this fight. Does it mean that he can't win it? No, but the odds are against him, but there's still a chance, right? So when we look at charts, right, the best way to do it is to balance the odds. What are the odds on the daily that this comes up here? Actually, the odds are reasonably okay because this is still all an area to be playing in for bulls and for bears. But overall, being in this zone here is bearish, and it would suggest that the longer we stay in this zone, the more likely it is that we continue down, because what we'll see is eventually, and it won't take long, it'll only take another few days to a week, and then we'll see this. Well, that's a bad example. It's not going to go up, it's only going to go down. It probably won't go down at that speed, but this will become resistance down facing, alright, and it will, the bears will really be having the upper hand until we reach a critical level, which in many people's opinion would be this, which is, again, on the weekly, we're in very, very bullish territory on the weekly. It's going to take a phenomenal drop for it to not be bullish on the weekly. So now you can see something, when you stand back and have a look, everything's bullish, and we will still be bullish provided we stay above this one. And what we see on this one is that it's upwards facing, right? So the bulls and the bears are going to have a good old scrap to try and bring it down to this level, and the odds are very much in favour of the bulls overall on the weekly, bullish on Bitcoin. But short term, the bears currently have the upper hand, and it's only very early on, but the bulls are going to struggle at the moment. In my opinion, they're going to struggle. So, this is the 20 weekly moving average, and everybody knows generally that the 20 weekly gets revisited from time to time from the price action. It pops down to say hello, and they have a little cup of tea, and they have a little dance together, and then they say goodbye one way or another. Now, we are clearly in a big bull market, but this has been a giant, massive parabolic move, and from the March drop to the absolute top, it was a 10x, it's 1,000%, okay, 1,000% for Bitcoin. So is it reasonable to assume that after 1,000% we come back down to test wherever this is, wherever it may be at the time, from the top to the bottom, a 50% move? Not at all. That's very, very possible, very likely. Does it mean it's going to come down to that level now? 20,000, 19,000? No. But is it going to consolidate perhaps and have a little mini bear market? Very, very plausible. So like I say, we're talking about support and resistances on the very basic term time frames. We're looking at the hourly. What's going on the hourly? Well, we're snaking around, aren't we? What's going on the 4 hourly? Well, it's a crossroads at the moment. If we break above here, then we'll be looking good. But again, the odds are in the favour of the bears. And on the daily, the bears clearly have an upper hand. Now, if we go on to looking at, I suppose, some more moving averages to try and give us a little bit more insight as to what's going on, we see here on the daily that moving averages are generally facing down now, the shorter term time frames, and we're beneath pretty much all of the ones that signify any kind of bull market. As we see, when we were moving up here, we tested obviously the center of the Bollinger Band, which is what we've broken down here. That's the 20. But then when we go into turbo bull mode, we come back down to test the 10 exponential. 10, 10, 10, 7, 10, and pretty much even don't even come down to that in the bull mode. So now what's going to likely happen is that as these are facing down, we will be testing these areas. Now that is the moving averages. I just wanted to show you something as well on the 3-day. So 3-day is below sort of the 10 at the moment, being rejected from not rejected from the 10, but generally speaking, this is the center of the Bollinger Band, taking us to 27, right? We could quite easily come down to test that, because in the 3-day perspective, we're still bullish, okay? Well, the bulls have the upper hand on 3-day. So it all depends on how you want to play your trading. Do you want to go in for the long term, for the bigger moves? Do you want to go for the short term, for the smaller moves, and using leverage and things like that? It's all relevant. The charts say the same thing, and they give you odds on different time frames. If you were to be buying Bitcoin now, the odds on the weekly are greatly in your favor, because it's going to take all that we're going to have to come down below $20,000 for you to really feel that that you've made a tragic error. I'm not saying buy Bitcoin. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you've got to balance out your odds. What's your game plan? Are you looking to get in this for the next hour and then play the 15-minute chart? Because the same rules apply. 15-minute chart, reclaim the center of the Bollinger Band, moving into an area where we could be reclaiming all major moving averages, including perhaps maybe even the 200 exponential. That's the 15-minute chart. But when you measure that out against the mid-term time frames, like the 4 hourly, even the hourly it would appear, and the daily, then it would suggest that we have a little bit of room to move down, and the bears will basically bring this down over time. But then when you look at it on the 3-day, everything seems okay for the moment, and a likely place for it to bounce would be here. And on the weekly, absolutely bullish territory, massively. Absolutely no problem whatsoever when you look at it on the weekly. However, moves are going to be clearly a lot bigger, coming down another 40% perhaps from the price that we are at right now. What's your game plan? It's all you need to ask yourself. What is your game plan? Now, if we're balancing this out, in when it comes to trading alts and things like that, that gets more complicated and it's variable. So all I'm saying is, I don't have a particular bias one way or another. I'm trying to play the odds. I wouldn't want to put a bet on Conor McGregor at the odds of 20-1, even though I'll enjoy watching him having a scrap. I would like to see him win, but at the same time, do I think he will do? No, because the odds are against him. So at the moment, just like Conor McGregor, the odds are against Bitcoin breaking out from this zone. ever so slightly. It's not as bad as Conor McGregor. Sorry to use that analogy, but it's the truth. Now, another chart, another thing that I talk about is called the Ichimoku cloud, and at the moment we don't have the sell signal. And I always tell people to trade on signals. Don't trade on an estimation of a signal. Trade on when something's confirmed. We don't have the end of this trend yet confirmed. It's not saying at the moment that this trend has come to an end, but it's getting close to that situation. This blue line here with this red line, if they were to cross, it would be a decent signal to say that this bull trend has ended for the moment. Expect some downtrend and wait for the opposing cross to take place before getting back in for another long-term hold. Basically, that's all it would be saying. It's not saying that Bitcoin's dead. It's not saying it's going to zero, but it's saying that this is the end of this current trend. So from when we had the signal back down here to where we had the get out signal, which would be here, it was saying that that's it. You've had your fun now. Now we're just going to reset the price and we'll wait for a signal to tell us when to buy it back again for a long-term position. This is a daily chart I'm talking about. So when you see me make videos that might sound extremely bearish or whatever, it's not that I despise Bitcoin and I want it to go down. Of course, I don't really have a preference of whether it goes up or down. I prefer it to go up. Obviously, it'd be a lot easier to make money if it just goes up. But it's been going up for quite a while now. Things don't generally continue to go up indefinitely without some significant pullback. So if we move up 1,000% and you get to the top of that 1,000% move in the space of less than a year, when you get to the top, what do you expect to happen? You've moved up 1,000% at this point now, 1,000%. Would it be acceptable if it came down by 50%? I don't see a problem with that, to be honest. I think that would be okay. Relatively reasonable to expect it to come down 50% after moving 1,000%. 50%, don't really have a problem with that. So I'm not saying that that's the move I'm expecting. I'm playing the odds and I'm hedging my bets. And if I was to put a bet on Conor McGregor to win, it would be a little bit silly. Although there is that chance, there is that little bit of a chance that he will win, because he might. That's why there's odds. The odds are against him, but there's still odds. So all I'm saying is you've got to look at it, look at the big picture, and you've got to be patient. Just because you're not in a trade all the time doesn't mean that you're not doing the right thing. Sometimes being out of a trade is probably the best thing. And have a little bit of a sit back and relax and look at what you've achieved so far and what you're planning to achieve. And like I say, make a strategy for when it is that you would like to buy back. Would you like to try and catch a knife? Would you like to hedge your bets and go in here and play this one out for the long term? Because on the weekly, the long term is still quite clearly bullish. We've not even tested these exponential moving averages, around 27,000 at the moment for the 10 exponential. Never mind coming back down to the 20 weekly. So all I'm saying is hedge your bets, and decide what sort of a player you're going to be. Are you going to be a long-term player like me? That's what I like to do. I like to plan it out, play for the long term. Are you going to be a fast trader, a day trader, or whatever it is that you want to be, and then focus on that. Right? Long-term positions, as in like the very long-term positions, will be okay. Probably be perfectly fine. The mid-term positions, which I suppose are the ones that I'm most interested in, it's getting to a crossroads now where we do have to make our decision, whether we want to limit our exposure here, because whether that was a nice bounce, but again we will often find ourselves getting drawn back into a Bollinger Band from the bottom, just as we end up getting drawn back in from a breakout from the top. But this is curving over now, and because we're beneath this area here, we're in the bottom side, then we do have a relatively large range to play from here up to here. That's a further 10 or a 12% move. So don't see a 12% move and you say that you were wrong. It's not about being wrong or right. It's about limiting risk and exposure, and that's it, right? If we break up above here, I will start to seem and feel a lot more bullish. But at the moment, I don't really feel very bullish with this kind of formation taking place, especially as we look like we are going to, unless we pump phenomenally and get to this level, avoid this cross. And again, the cross hasn't happened, so I'm not going to play that cross and say that the trend has ended, because it's not ended yet. I just wanted to get all of that out there, alright, because I did make a bit of a rushed video this morning, which probably sounded a bit fear-mongering. That's not my intention, and none of this that I do is designed to be any kind of call or signal or prediction with any degree of certainty. It's about odds. It's about the odds. This is like a game, alright? So it's just like a football game. There's odds on a football game. Would Leeds United beat Manchester United? Well, they probably could at the moment, to be honest. But you see what I'm saying. It's just a matter of odds. No one can place a bet on a football game and absolutely know in all certainty that they're going to win, no matter how good the odds are. So the odds again in the favour of the Bears, unfortunately, for the medium term, for the next few weeks, I imagine. Unless, of course, they pull something out of the hat, do a hat trick, and smash through that Bollinger Band and avoid this cross, then everything is still good to go, and I'll be very happy to jump back in, with a bit more risk. At the moment, I've limited my risk because the odds are against the bullish move. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there. You get my point. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. And you can leave whatever comment you like about how I'm wrong or how I'm right. Nobody really knows. Nobody knows, all right? Nobody knows. It's just about balancing, statistically, what's most likely outcome based on the tools that we all have, which are basically, they're all lagging indicators based on volume, time, and price. So nothing's actually going to tell you where it's actually going to go. They're just going to tell you what the direction of the trend is most likely to be. Doesn't mean that it will be. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice evening. Take it easy.